Okay, it is 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Welcome everybody to the Madow Center's webinar today, Dental Practice Survival Guide to the COVID-19 Crisis. I'm Dr. Richard Madow, and I'm co-host today with my brother, Dr. David Madow. How are you today, Dave?
Hey, I'm here. I'm doing fantastic, Rich, and we're going to have a great webinar. I'm really excited.
Really excited too. We've got a fantastic crew today. You can see some of them. We've got two of our coaches, Betty Hayden and Barbara Thurs. We've got an incredible dentist, Dr. Joanne Reef, who's going to be presenting tomorrow at 1 p.m., although she's here today also to help out. So we really appreciate her taking the time to do that. We're trying to get connected with Kara, one of our other coaches. She's having some technical difficulties, but she should be on any time soon. Wow, crazy times, huh? Dave, that was your cue to start saying something. I gave you like a lead. We've done this before. It's like somebody says something and then pauses. That means you jump in as the co-host.
Oh, thanks for telling me. Okay, so here's the deal. I'm gonna, full disclosure. Here's why I did not jump right in, because I'm trying to run a couple devices at once, because I wanted to tell everybody. Rich, you know this already. We are doing a I guess you call it like a simulcast. We're broadcasting this on Facebook as well, and I was just trying to check our page to make sure, see if it's going yet. I don't know if it's going yet, but if you guys know anybody else if you're connected on Facebook to somebody, we are broadcasting this live on the Madow Center for Dental Success Facebook page. So if you go to that, you should be able to see it. Sylvia is behind the scenes right now in our control room working this out. It should be working, but my point is, if you get to that, if you can see the video on the Madow Center page, feel free to share this out to anybody you know in dentistry, because I want to tell you something. This is going to be a really, really powerful webinar. We're going to actually give advice today. Oh, there's Kara. Okay, so now things are working really well. Things are working great.
All right, Kara, welcome.
Rich, I want to share something before I send it back over to you. Rich, there've been, as you know, we're going through a really, really tough time. There's a lot of craziness. It's scary for a lot of people, including me. It's crazy, but which brings out a lot of people that try to help others. And there are a lot of webinars in dentistry now. Like every day, there's probably like thousands of webinars online. And I was watching one the other day, and I think it was like a pretty good one. It was okay, but the people that were on the webinar were giving like very generic advice, like, it's tough out there. You got to stay calm. You got to be positive. You got to go out and take a walk and, meditate. All that stuff is really good. However, in the end, it's not going to really help you in your life when things get back to normal. So today, our goal today on this webinar, we've got some experts, some absolute experts. Rich, I was actually tallying this up before we went online, and I think between everybody that's speaking today, we've got way over 100 years of, it's scary, but way over 100 years.
Hold on now. Let's not go there. I mean, I'm feeling old enough, being that I at age 61, I'm officially in the high risk category for COVID-19. So you have to make me feel any older. But
my point is, I'm sorry. My point is, we're not just going to be saying, don't worry, you can do it, you're going to be fine, stay positive. Although that stuff's very important. Today, we're going to be giving like actual take-home information. This is a time where we're all regrouping. We have to be at home. We're like figuring out things, figuring out our lives, our businesses. And there's no better time than right now to say, hey, look, I've got some time on my hands. What are some of the things I have not really accomplished yet? What are some of the things that I've struggled with that I just haven't been able to get done? We're going to share some great tips and advice with you today to get you going. So when things get better, and they will, we're not sure when, but they will get better. We promise. You're going to come out of the gate and you're going to be on top of your game. You're going to be confident that your business and your life is going to be so much better. We're going to be offering you all this today on this webinar.
Yep, that is absolutely our goal. So just a couple, as they say, housekeeping things. If you are looking at the bottom panel of your Zoom, you might see that there's a Q&A and a chat. So if you want to say something, ask a question, make a comment, it's better to use the chat button rather than the Q&A. We have one question that came in on the Q&A, and that is, are there any handouts for this seminar? No, there are no handouts. We're going to leave it to your devices to take your own notes, but we don't need or have any handouts for this. And you'll see why when we get going. So great question there, but probably better to use the chat. There's another button that says chat, and we've already gotten a couple comments. One from BJ Showman. Nice piano. Hey, thanks so much. Glad you noticed my Yamaha G5. Maybe you're a piano player as well. And a couple other great questions there. So how do we invite others to join? Well, I'm not sure. Dave, do you know that? How do people, if somebody's watching, how do they invite? I think Facebook might be the easiest way.
Yes, and also, so I'm looking, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm looking at our Facebook page, the Madow Center, and the webinar is supposed to be live on that as well. I don't see it live yet. So Sylvia in the background at her control panel here, I hope you're working on that and getting that live, because that's going to be the best way. It's going to be on our Madow page, Madow Center for Dental Practice Success. From there, you should be able to just send people to that page or share that out if that's possible. But we are working on that right now as we speak. But
Fantastic.
Rich, I just noticed, I was chatting a little bit with you guys and everybody, and I looked down and we've got over 500 people on this thing right now.
I saw, it's fantastic. And we know that some people, especially if it's their first Zoom meeting, need a couple minutes to download the software and work out the kinks or the Rolling Stones or whatever they're trying to work out. So I think we're going to be expecting a lot more. So again, we're going to bring our first speaker on in just a second, Betty, but let's finish up reviewing the housekeeping. And also, we've gotten a lot of questions ahead of time. And we have gotten some great questions, but a ton of them, I would say maybe over 50%, are about all the financial questions that people have now about the PPP and the CARES and all these things. What can I do? How do I protect my income? How can I get a piece of that government grant or loan program that everybody seems to be so interested in? And we've gotten so many questions about these issues that we're actually thinking about doing a webinar completely dedicated to those issues. So that's not really what this webinar is about today. As Dave said, it's about things you can do right now to not only protect your practice, but make sure that when things get better, you're ready to go full speed ahead, or whatever our or your definition will be of full speed ahead. So let's save the financial stuff for a possible webinar, maybe early to mid next week. We're going to try to get some really, really great knowledgeable guests on there and see if we can make that happen for you. But today we're going to concentrate on things that you can be doing in your practice, with your team, with your patients, to make sure that you're in the right position right now and hopefully soon when things pick up. And nobody seems to know when that is. I wonder if it would be interesting if people could write in the chat box when they think things will be back to normal. It'll be interesting to hear everybody's opinion while we're waiting for Betty to take the stage. When do you think things will be back to normal?
Or do you think the world's going to totally change and things will be different from now? Maybe not necessarily worse, but different in many ways.
Never, infinity, June, mid-May. Wow, that's pretty optimistic. July 2020. Wow, all kinds of great answers. Somebody said the new normal. Maybe that's
the never be. Somebody said it will never be what it was, which I think I kind of agree. There's going to be a lot of big changes.
I totally agree. I think one change is, of course, people are learning that there are so many more things they can do from home or from a location other than their actual physical office. In other fields, much more than in dentistry, because there is a point where you need to be there with the patient, obviously, to get the treatment done. But I think we're all learning that so many more things can be done. Let's see, when we have a vaccine, the new normal will be in September. Wow, traditional handshakes are done forever. It's about time.
I think that's true. I think that's absolutely right. I'm not shaking anybody's hand anymore.
I have not liked handshakes for years, and I do it because it's the social norm. But I think we're learning that all these things we can do not to spread disease would be really advantageous. Okay.
So wait, Rich, before you hang on, before you introduce Betty, I'm going to just check these. Okay, so we are officially live on Facebook right now. It's on the Madow Center page. So if you're not connected to the Madow Center page, just do a search for the Madow Center for Dental Practice Success on Facebook, and we are totally live. So if you want to share that out to anybody in dentistry that you know, anybody in the universe, we would really appreciate it. We've got close to 600 people watching, a family of 600 people watching right now. It's a nice, close-knit, small family, but we're going to blast this out like crazy on Facebook as well, because again, the information that we're going to be sharing with you today is going to be incredible. It's truly going to help you in your practice and your life. There's no question about that.
I love this comment from BJ Showman, who asked me about my piano earlier, so I already liked him or her so much. But BJ, I'm going to assume you're a doctor, Dr. Showman said, our change will be a new opportunity. That's a good mantra. I know we said it's not going to be all feel good, huggy,
I love that.
meditate, but it's so true. Our change will be a new opportunity. And if you are somebody that's not complaining, but instead learning how to adapt to the change, you're going to be right there in the forefront. So fantastic. I know we all feel isolated these days. We're up to about 600 participants now. So when we're going to bring Betty on in a second, when Betty starts speaking, just picture maybe that you're not in your home office or your home or wherever you are, but you're in a big auditorium, and we're metaphorically all there together, learning together, loving dentistry together, doing all these great things as one. And that's just, it gives me a good feeling to say that. So why don't we do that? And that said, without any further ado, we want to bring on one of our fabulous coaches. She's actually been with the Madow Center, I think, longer than any of our coaches. She has just helped so many practices. She's one of those people that always has a little light around her. Everybody loves her. She's always smiling and positive and upbeat. I'm not sure if you still are, Betty, because it's tough times, but I have a feeling you are. So let's introduce and give the floor, please, to all the way from the D, Detroit, Michigan, Coach Betty Hayden. Take it away, Betty.
Hey, everyone. Thank you, Rich. Before I get started, there's something I want to acknowledge. And Dave, you and Rich both spoke to this a little bit, but this is a challenging time for all of us. This is new for all of us, and we're figuring this all out together. So with that, there is a ton of information out there and not enough information at the same time. As well, there's a ton of questions being asked and not all the answers that we need right now. So I know that many of you have spent quite a bit of time over the last week or two listening to podcasts, watching webinars, reading articles, gathering gems, ideas, tips, nuggets, advice, whatever you can find. And a lot of that information that you've gathered has kind of turned into noise, and it's added instead a heavy weight on your shoulders. Why is that? Well, perhaps you spent years being an income producer and not spending enough time on being a business owner to clearly define what it is that you want and that you need. So what is your vision? What does the culture of your practice look and feel like? What do you want it to look and feel like? You need to know exactly what that is that you want and that you need, because you need to have core values attached to support that mission and that vision for your practice. So I want you to think about your core values as habits. So some habits have been created over the years that have actually compromised your vision that you have for your practice. So now is a great time to improve upon good habits, because all this information that you're gathering right now needs something to anchor to. So you need to define what it is that you want. So planning is great. And I'm happy that you all are here today because we're making plans for the future. But planning doesn't create movement. And you need to get moving. And you need to get started. And as you get started, you start to build on that momentum. And that gives us the encouragement. So today, we're going to share a lot of ideas and recommendations with you that are designed to help you get started. We want you to walk away today with encouragement and motivation, so that way you can return back to your practices stronger and better. And please know that we are here to support you during this time. So I'm going to discuss with you some steps that you can take right now, whether you are in your practice or not, or at home, things that you can do starting today that will help you be in a better position when you return back to your practices, okay? So I'm going to talk to you about how to communicate with your patients more effectively and your potential new patients as well. I'm going to talk about ways, and Kara as well, that you can increase your cash flow, and then how to create a schedule that is going to work for you instead of against you when you return and are allowed to return back into your practices. Okay, whew. So the first thing we want to talk about is just a quick, easy way to increase your cash flow. And money is a good thing, and we need money. So let's talk about your outstanding insurance claims. So if you're not working on that already or have somebody assigned to that right now, think about how much money is sitting out there in unpaid insurance claims. Are there any claims sitting out there that haven't been filed yet? Have you looked at those reports as well? Do you have insurance information requests sitting there that you need to address? Now's the time. Attack your outstanding insurance claims. Get a status update on all of your claims, so that way you can have those insurance checks rolling into the practice, okay? So that means you need to have somebody available to post those checks. We don't want the mail just piling up and that money sitting there. We want that in your bank account. So make sure that somebody is there to keep track of that and enter those checks. So along with insurance, if because of just daily stress in the practice, you haven't been good about keeping up on getting your fee schedules entered into the computer, or the insurance breakdown of benefits entered for every patient, now is a great time to do that as well. So that way you're in a better position once you return to your practice. So number one, follow up on those unpaid insurance claims, get those checks coming into your practice, because that's a good thing, right? And then you can start, once you can return to the practice, you don't have all this outstanding money, past due money sitting there, okay? So the second thing that I want to talk to you about is, or third thing, I don't know what number it is, but anyway, let's talk about your schedules. So right now, oh my gosh, it has been so tough trying to reschedule patients, because for some of you, you rescheduled your patients and now you're having to call and reschedule them again, because we thought we would have a return date sooner than what is actually happening. And that is frustrating for you. It's frustrating for your patients. So let's really talk about your schedules at this point. So now is your opportunity to create and design the schedule that you want moving forward. Okay, so what does that look like? Maybe you've spent a ton of time over the years just filling holes. And so some days you guys are running ragged with your schedules. Other days you have a bunch of holes, and it's frustrating and stressful. So now take a step back, look at your schedule, and design your schedule to meet your production needs, but also for your own well-being and sanity, okay? So design the schedule. Don't just fill holes. And what you don't want to happen right now is you don't want to return to the practice and have jam-packed full schedule. Then as those new patients are calling, or you have emergencies and you have no place to put them, okay? We don't want that to happen. So now take time, reserve time for your new patients in your schedule. Even if you're going a year out, that's okay. Put those hold times in, reserve them as sacred times that you're going to care for new patients or emergencies without being stressed out during the day. As well, schedule now your team meetings. Schedule now your continuing education, your training with your team, your performance evaluations. If we don't put those times in the schedule for those important things in our practice, we know what happens. Life gets in the way, and then before we know it, we're not conducting regular team meetings, and we're not communicating with our employees like we need to with those performance evaluations. So put those in the schedule now while you have this opportunity. Okay, so, and the other thing is, as you're rescheduling your patients, I want you to remember the way we communicate with them. So for those of you that this is some of the information that has been coming back to me, is patients are ticked off because we already rescheduled them once and now we're rescheduling them again. So when you're talking to your patients, let them know this is the best estimate we have right now for when we're going to return into the practice, but it may change, okay? So go ahead and reschedule those patients for down the road. Then you can, and say to them, we're going to put you on our priority list And if there's any way that we can see you before this date, we want you to know that we're going to give you a call. Okay, so be real with them, but allow yourself that flexibility if you do need to move that appointment again. And first, unfortunately, this is a tough thing to consider, but for some of your patients that had appointments in March and some of them for April that you're now having to reschedule, hygiene patients, we may need to just reappoint them in September and October instead. If you're trying to cram them all in, all of those appointments at your return, what you're going to have happen is you're going to be crazy out of your mind, stressed, but you aren't going to have any appointments in September and October. And we already know that they don't refer to September as September for no reason. So we already know that those can be a challenging months, September and October, even August. So we need to think about that. For some of your hygiene patients, would it be more appropriate to schedule them? They're going to skip this one and schedule them down the road. So those are some things that you really need to consider when you're looking at your schedule and you're saying, okay, this number of patients need to be rescheduled. We only have this available office hours. It's not going to work, right? So take those things into consideration now, and that's okay. We can always call them in sooner if we need to, but just give yourself that flexibility that you need right now, okay? So with that being said, when we're communicating with our patients, please be kind and understanding and sympathetic to them. We are kind of like in a reaction mode. So we're just calling, we need to cancel, we need to reschedule, and we're just reacting to the situation because we don't know what we're doing. We've never been in a situation like this before. Take a breath, think about your patients. What they need right now is reassurance. So as you are moving these appointments and communicating with them, let them know that you're still there for them. You're available to help them if they have any emergencies or if they have any questions, but be kind. And I keep getting requests from people asking, what do we say? What do we say to them? Well, you know what? Most people know what's going on, and they've had their doctor or dermatologist or vet, somebody has already contacted them to move an appointment. So they are aware of what's going on. And so it's okay to just say, hey, as you've probably heard, this is the situation. This is what we need to do. Reschedule that appointment. If you're getting a voicemail, be very clear on the phone with them. Same thing. Identify who you are. This is what's happening. We need to reschedule your appointment. Please know that we are here to help you if you have any type of emergency. And then be clear on how they can contact you. So whether that's a cell phone or calling and leaving a voice message, whatever it is, outline exactly what that looks like for them. And then at the end of that call, if you're leaving a message, say again, your appointment for this has been canceled. Okay, and if we can reschedule it, have them call back and reschedule, that's fine. But we need to let them know and keep that communication with them open. That's what they need right now more than anything, is just know that you care, that you're aware of what's going on, and that you're there to still help them. So with appointments, think about your electronic reminders. If you still have those set up and you haven't canceled out these appointments, you want to put a pause on your electronic reminders, so that way we aren't sending confusing messages and you're going to be canceling that appointment and then they're getting a call to confirm their appointment. We don't want that to happen. But as well, if you only reschedule a week or two in advance, that's okay. Don't feel panicked like you have to immediately cancel out the entire month of April with your patients. It's okay. Take it a week at a time, reschedule them, even letting them know that this may happen. You may have to cancel or reschedule. Just keep that communication open with them. As well with your telephones, think about this. What does your voice message say? Have you updated it? Who's answering your phones and when? What do your patients or potential patients hear or not hear when they're trying to reach you? take all those things into consideration right now. As well, you may get patients that are new to your practice calling. Maybe their office closed completely. And so they're panicking, they have an emergency, they don't know where to go, they don't know what to do. So be open for that and ready to be able to build good relationships with them, give them great experiences. And as well, even shopper callers. You might start getting people that are price shopping because they're thinking, oh gosh, I don't have my insurance now, or I'm not going to be able to afford this treatment. And so they might start calling around trying to find the better deal. Take those, I love shopper callers because people are ready to buy. That's why they're calling. I promise you, as a mom, I'm not sitting at home bored and calling around offices to find out how much a crown costs, right? I have much better things to do. Same with those callers. Think about that. They're ready to buy. They have a need. So the way you respond to them on the telephone is going to make or break that relationship. So stop. Think about, who are you talking to? Sounds like you're looking for a new dentist. Build a relationship with them. How did you hear about us? Start asking questions with them. It doesn't have to just be about the price. But if you give them a good experience on the phone right now, that's going to help later on when they are making that decision of who they want to see for their dental treatment. Okay, so really it's something that I've always been serious about in teaching, but take your phone serious. Get the training for your employees that you need, because that can make or break the success of a practice. And we need to be real on the phone with our patients, but we also need to know that it's a human being. How would we want to be treated if we were calling somewhere? So just stop and think about, find out who you're talking to and how you can help them. Okay, so this is, because it's such a uncertain and scary time, sometimes our tone may not come across as concerned, or even that we care about what's going on. So just remember that we're all in this together, and the way we communicate with our patients and our potential patients is going to help us way down the road and help them right now. These people need that more than anything right now. So along with your schedules, designing your schedules to meet the needs of your practice, to meet your production goals, the way we communicate with our patients on the telephone right now, all of those things are super important to take into consideration. But also just staying in touch with your patients, regardless of whether they have an appointment scheduled or not. So how do we stay in touch with our patients and our potential patients in the community? All right, so you have Facebook, you have Instagram, you have your Google business listing, YouTube, and even your website. These are all tools that we have to stay in touch with our patients and our potential patients and to build relationships within the community. So maybe you hate Facebook, and right now, I've been trying to stay off of Facebook myself because it is full of just crap, scary information, right? So, but your patients and your potential patients, they're still on those sites. Many of them are. So even if you hate it and you have signed off on all social media, this isn't about you right now. This is about your patients. So how can you stay in touch with them? First thing is, you need a consistent theme and message across all of those platforms. You don't want the same cookie cutter information, right? We don't want it to look exactly the same from Facebook to Instagram to your website, but they need to be in harmony with each other. So why is this so important right now? Well, people do business with those that they know, like, and trust. So what do people know about you? If I go to your Facebook page right now, what am I going to learn about you? If I go to your website, what do I learn about you right now? So they need to be designed so that way people can get to know you, your team, the culture of your practice. Make those platforms, when they go to visit them, that they decide that that's the office that I want. That's exactly what I need. They need to see the personality shine through. So when your patients and your potential patients visit your sites, is it outdated? old content, old photos of team members that have been long gone, just boring stuff, right? What are they seeing when they go there? So I want you to think about a few things. Your profile picture, what does that look like? Your cover photo, your office contact information, is that current? If people can direct message you on Facebook or Instagram, who's monitoring those messages? Who's making sure that we are contacting those patients? Do you have it set up on Facebook, for example, that people that visit your site have answers to frequently asked questions? Think about all of these things. It's not enough just to know you. They also need to like you. So be real with them. Even when you're working from home, we can be real with our patients in the way that we communicate with them. We want relevant content. So now is not the time to have posts saying, you need to see your dentist every 6 months or your teeth are going to fall out, right? Because we know that we aren't able to see them right now like we want to. So instead, share preventive dental health tips with them. Share stories with them. Help them to see what they can do if they're having a dental emergency. We need them to not just know us, like us, but we need them to trust us. People are scared. They're going to be scared scheduling appointments because we've heard that it's not safe, right, to be in the dental chair right now. They need that reassurance from you that you will protect them just like you always have. Engage with your local businesses on social media. Like, comment, share their posts as well. Get involved within your community while you are stuck in the house right now. And if you need suggestions or ideas on content and posts for your social media sites, I'm here to help you. We're here to help you, and I would be happy to share those ideas with you. But think right now about what it is you want and the relationships that you're building, and making sure that what we're doing is helping people to know, like, and trust us right now. Good.
Beautiful. It was great.
Thank you.
Rich, before we move on, I think we're going to be introducing our next speaker in a couple seconds. We've got so many people here. I'd like to take a second and thank every single one of you for being here. Not only that, if you would take a second of your time and say hello to us, just type in the city and state you're in right now, and it'll go really fast, but we'll try to get a really good view of where everybody is. It'll be really cool because between our Zoom here and our Facebook, we've got about 700 plus people watching. Look at this. It's going so fast.
I'm going to do it too. I'm doing it also.
Let's see. It's going so Fargo, North Dakota, I saw. Reston, Virginia.
Wow.
It's going so fast. Wow, you guys are the greatest. Look at this.
I thought I saw somebody put in Sweet Home Alabama, but it flew so fast.
Detroit, Michigan. Yay, yay. Ashburn, North Carolina.
Ellicott City,
Santa Rosa, California.
Irvine, California. East Berlin, PA. I think I know who that was from East Berlin, PA.
King of Prussia, Pennsylvania.
Green Bay, Wisconsin. Go Packers. Wow, that was great. That was great.
Cape Cod, Brewster, Cape Cod, Dillard, Georgia. I don't know where
Dave,
that is.
I want to know why when your name shows up, it says Dr. David Madow, but mine just says Richard Madow.
Well, wait a minute. I know exactly why. I went back to the dental school the other day. Are you sure you passed all your requirements? Because they've questioned that.
Well, I had one inlay left to do.
That's the problem. As soon as you finish that inlay, you will change to a doctor on Zoom.
I started already, and it was it was gold foil. It was I had to compress the gold pellets. So I don't know if you can get that material anymore. So.
I think you need to complete that requirement to get the doctor on Zoom.
I practiced for many years, but I guess nobody ever found out. It's it's interesting. We've gotten that's really cool that Enid, Oklahoma. Wow, I wonder if they know Lieutenant Lizard.
Yeah.
A lot of it's really cool that everybody's got their cities in, but we also got some great comments before the cities came in. And one that I found particularly interesting was, will the reception room change? I mean, I can't imagine that.
Wow,
that we're always going to have 6 foot social distancing. And I mean, it certainly would lead to a drop in population if that happens universally. But unless there's like whatever, we don't need to get into that. But I'm just wondering if people have thought about that, and maybe maybe Betty, Kara, Joanne, Barb, you guys could just comment real quickly. Are we planning for changes in the way that our reception areas are configured?
It's a great question. I think it is gonna change.
But
I
let's
agree.
face it, there will come a time when, I know people are calling it the new normal, whatever, where we will be able to be in groups and go to sporting events and concerts and hug people. That time will come back. I mean, it might be 2 years from now, but it will come back. So
I think the main difference is going to be the PPE. I
yeah,
think that's going to be the main difference. I think before we could even open our offices, I was told we should have set aside some money, extra money that we're going to have to use for this PPE.
okay, I think you're definitely right, Joanne. But how about the patients in our reception areas?
I don't know that that's going to have to change drastically. I mean, how could it really, unless they're going to sit in their cars and we're going to text them to come.
Right.
Come on in. That might take place. That might happen.
Well, I know an endodontist is doing that now.
The patients have to sit in their cars and wait.
Yeah, they're texting.
Yeah, it's virtual, called a virtual waiting room.
Yeah, many doctors are doing that now, and it actually may be the patient's preference.
Yeah, I don't
Good
like
point. Good point.
Betty, say that again.
I don't like sitting by people. So yeah, that would be
I'm
fine
with you.
in my car.
As a matter of fact, Betty, you're a little close to me right now. I got to move. Let me move over here. I feel a little too close to you guys.
I know that when I go to my dentist, they've got like a couch in the waiting room, and there's like a code that you don't sit right next to somebody if there's a center seat or a side seat taken. And then if somebody does, it's really weird.
Wait a minute. That sounds like my shrink.
Then just sit in the middle. Then nobody will sit on either side. Get the whole
But they can sit right next to you. It's kind of like the urinals as well in a public restroom. I know some of you women can't relate, but all right, great topics. Keep adding things to the chat. We like it. Dave, you want to take over and introduce our next speaker?
I will, but I'm going to say also, thanks so much for all of the questions coming in. I'm pretty sure we're going to have a permanent record of every single question and comment that comes in. So even if we don't get to it today, as Rich said earlier, we're coming up with a webinar that we're going to actually devote to answering a lot of these questions, especially the ones of the financial nature, for sure. So keep the questions coming. If we don't acknowledge it right now, we have a permanent record of everything. So we're good to go. Oh, we got another visitor that just showed up. Whitney.
Yay, Whitney.
Whitney's here. All right.
I am going to introduce our next speaker, but Rich, I don't have the order in front of me. I think it's Barb.
Kara is next.
Kara's next. Kara's next. Well, I'll tell you something. I don't need to give her a long introduction. Kara is one of our incredible coaches. Rich and I are fortunate to be able to work with some of the best people in dentistry in this country, and I really mean that. Through our connections, Rich and I have been dental KOLs for over 30 years each. We've met so many great people, and we're honored to be able to work with the ones that we want to work with. So Kara is one of our coaches, and she's got a fantastic program prepared. Just before we went live, I happened to see a lot of her presentation on her, I think it's a PowerPoint or whatever it is. And she's got some amazing information. So without further ado, let's give it up for, I feel like it's a comedy club, but let's give it up for Kara Jones.
Hello. So I wish I could get this PowerPoint to show you guys, but for some reason I can't use my laptop right now.
No.
So
Sorry about that, Kara.
I know, it's okay, but we'll get through it. Technology, right? All right. So basically I'm going to talk today about several different areas. One being, kind of what I call what's in your piggy bank. What does your snapshot look like financially? A lot of you just kind of go day by day, and you're not really paying too much attention of what all that looks like until we kind of hit something like this. So with the recent financial, epidemic happening in all industries, not just dentistry, business owners are facing uncertainty and regret, based on how they have managed and operated year after year. During the last major economic downturn, patients were still willing to take off of work for restorative and dental care, but refused to jeopardize their jobs for just what they called a cleaning appointment. But unfortunately, without these cleaning appointments, we can't find the restorative dentistry to fill the doctor's side of things. So I want to share today with all of you some of the areas of your office and the business side of dentistry that need to be focused on prior to us reopening our doors. So things you can do now. So again, many of you over the past few weeks have gone from limited patient hours to a mix of essential and non-essential, to just essential emergency only, and or decided to close altogether. If that is you, there are going to be things that have to be done prior to you reopening your doors. If you've not already sat down and negotiated your fixed expenses, this is where you need to start today. Evaluate what each company is currently doing for you daily, monthly. Reduce any services to a minimal or even eliminate some of them altogether. Evaluate what supporting companies are out there and what they're doing to help you. Some companies will allow you to put services on hold. So you may not want to completely get rid of these third-party sources altogether, but find out what they can do as far as minimizing your monthly expense.
Hey, Kara, can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Sure.
Can you bring your video back? Is that on your end? Because we can't see you. We can hear you, but we can't see you. There you go. Perfect.
Do you see me? Sorry.
Now it's perfect. Perfect.
All right. So evaluating, again, what each company is doing for you and what you can put on hold, what these services are. You want to also remember that some people are saying, oh, drop marketing. Absolutely not. Marketing just needs to be kind of retweaked a little bit. So website maintenance should still be happening, updates for your patients for communicating wise, especially because they can't call your offices any given time anymore because you're on to limited hours. So make sure that you're updating these things, or you're working with your existing website company to help you with that. Social media exposure, as Betty mentioned, is needed more than ever. Some of you guys are probably a little social media anti, but now is a time where this is a free opportunity for you to be able to reach your patients. If you're not tech savvy and social media savvy, that's okay. You probably have kids who are, you might have a wife or a husband who is, and family friend, or maybe you have, an existing team member who's willing to help you with that. Share with them that you are human also, that you're going through the same things. What are you and your family doing on a day-to-day? I'm seeing a lot of this stuff pop up. I'm by no means a social media guru. That's where Betty kind of comes in. But as she said, she can share some ideas that she has with you guys if you want them. You can, however, trim down how you're spending those marketing dollars. Redirect them to the avenues that are more personalized and focused on your existing patient base. We're still going to want new patients, but that right now isn't our focus. So just getting your name out there so that when our doors do reopen and we can start to see new patients, we are able to re-engage them in different ways. And then you can kind of ramp up your marketing efforts once things go back to kind of normal. Begin by reviewing. Oh, you found it. Thanks, Sylvia.
Oh, that's nice.
I'm on slide 4. Thank you. So you want to begin by reviewing your P&Ls. It's not enough for you to turn this information over and give it to your CPA or accounting firm. And then at the end of the quarter, you get this fancy report and it says, and all you do is scroll all the way down and you want to know what is the bottom line. But we have to start paying attention to how we get to our bottom line. It all starts again in production. If we produce, we are hoping to collect. And then collections tie into the expense side of things. How much is then being taken out of that? So we're going to talk a little bit about tightening up production and your collection practices so that your expenses aren't outweighing these 3 different models. So begin reviewing your P&Ls with your CPA and accounting firm. Areas like staffing, which most of you have probably already decreased. Leases or mortgages, see if you can talk with your existing leaseholder. Mortgage companies I know are giving some forgivenesses. Subscriptions, what subscriptions can you cut the fat, so to speak, on? Loans, equipment loans. You have your business loans. You also have your student loans. So any loans that you've taken out, I'm seeing that a lot of are offering up to 90 days, some 120 days of forgiveness. And any support third party. What are they doing for you? And can you minimize those services? You'll need to get these monthly fixed expenses to its bare minimal. Empty dental chairs, unfortunately, and limited services being provided, collections will take a hit as well. I know a lot of you are reading and wondering about this new CARES Act that's being offered for small business relief, as well as offices that qualify. Should review this in detail to see if your business qualifies. Talk to your accounting firm. They will probably have some great advice for you. It's such a convoluted and crazy long thing that this is definitely not the time for that one, but the CARES Act is something you should all be looking into as well. All right, the next one, Sylvia. All right, so making a list of these fixed expenses and then, yep, thank you. With offices not producing, supplies and lab expenses will reduce itself. You can click again. And making sure that you discuss reducing the subscriptions that you have to support the business. You also have support through your practice management software, and this is a good time to make sure that your practice management software is actually working for you. This is a good time for you to have, you or your teams taking some online free webinars and courses that they are offering so that you can better support each other as a team rather than struggle through the system itself. So now we talk about, okay, we're open again. So now what happens? In order for you to reopen, things are definitely going to change, and I'm going to kind of share some highlights of what those changes are going to look like from a financial standpoint with patients. We need to plan properly so that we don't get caught short of supplies that we need to be able to open the doors. So in order to do that, you need to do some inventory. That inventory, you will need to ensure that you have enough PPE for 30 working days. And what that looks like for each different practice, it's going to be different. Depends on how many staff members you have, who's doing what. But as an example, if you have one dentist, 2 hygienists, 2 dental assistants in an office, that could look like anywhere between 2,300 and 2,500 masks over that 30-day period that your office is going to need, because you have the dentist who, if there's 16 potential patients out of hygiene, the dentist may have to see if you are predictably scheduling. You could potentially have, 12 of those patients needing exams. So you need to do an inventory. You need to really make sure that you have what you need to open your doors. Since January, we've had a reduced supply that companies have allowed us per week as far as ordering. So currently, after talking with Henry Schein, I talked with some Patterson reps the other day, Darby, they've all pretty much reduced and are only allowing up to 2 boxes of masks per week. They've also limited the amount of gloves that you can receive, and protective eyewear, gowns, disinfectant wipes are obsolete right now. There is no end in sight of when we can even get those items back into the practice. So although I'm a huge advocate for supporting our hospitals and getting them the right equipment, my daughter is actually a respiratory therapist, and it's insane what our country is going through right now. So it's not that I am not compassionate and don't believe you need to share what you have, but first get a real good snapshot of where your practice is, and then go ahead and share. So I suggest that you go ahead and contact your representatives, continue to order what you can on average to get your supply where it needs to be. And then you can, like I said, even possibly donate any extras that you have once you've hit that happy spot for your office to reopen the doors. All right. Next one, Sylvia. All right, so now let's talk about some systems. So during this downtime, what systems need improvement? So some of you currently probably work with dental consultants or have in the past, or maybe, this is a time where you start to think about, okay, what things are really not working in my office? If I reopen these doors, it's a time where we can start to make some of these changes and tighten things up. So business systems and how you operate day to day, knowing more about the business of dentistry, each of you will be in a better place. But the accounts receivable part is a very important part to talk about because of the residual income that could potentially still be coming into the practice, and talking about who's doing what to make sure that this money is coming in. And then finding out what your true snapshot of that is. Most of you have probably already completed for your SBA loans, and these questions are probably, or lines of credit through your banks. These questions are probably already been revealed or shared. But I'm going to kind of talk about the proactive measures that need to be taken to better prepare you for what is to come. All right, the next one. All right, accounts receivable. So there's two types of accounts receivable that I like to break down. They really kind of intertwine, but they are going to be two different types of sources. If you click again, Sylvia. The accounts receivable, when it comes to your insurance aging report, right now, what is currently outstanding that has been produced and not paid to your office? Now, it ties into your patient AR balance, because if your aging report total says you have, $100,000 that's owed to you from different types of sources, whether that's patient or insurance, is that a true number? Is that a true number that you can try to collect in on? Well, if you are billing your current insurance, your actual fee schedule, you're going to have some adjustments. So you're going to need to kind of review your adjustment reports, know what your average adjustment percentage is to get a better snapshot financially of what you actually have coming to you, because you will have some adjustments to make. Your focus does need to be on identifying the categories of aging and the total due to the practice. This is the perfect time to clean up the claim issues and tighten up the process of claim submission in your practice. Hopefully somebody is still managing and working these things to ensure some cash flow is happening. Okay, the next one. The next list that needs to happen is an issues and reason for denial list. A lot of times we are in the motion of entering checks, clearing claims, sending statements, answering phones, and such and such. This is a good time to actually start to make a list of reasons that are common in your practice for denials, so that when you do reopen the doors, we can then tighten things up from front to back. It's not just a insurance person's responsibility to send out a clean claim. It's also the responsibility of the back staff to provide the right information to support a clean claim. So narratives have to be strong. They need to be short and sweet. And where the bulk of the narratives are supported from is your diagnostic information. Are you using just an x-ray to send to your dental insurance? Or are you, including periodontal probings? Are you taking intraoral photos? And if you're not doing intraoral photos, it's 2020. Everybody needs to be doing that. Those all should be included. I hear probably 90% of the time I'm going into an office, clinical notes are a huge issue. If they would just write a clinical note, oh yeah, that's a week out. No, they never have time. So you need to make sure that if clinical notes are a difficult thing to do in the time given for each procedure, you need to look at your practice management software and find out how you can make it an easier process for everybody to complete. Time management is a perfect thing right now for you to evaluate of all your team members. How can we do things more efficiently for a better result in the end? And insurance breakdown. Offices will check eligibility typically, but they then don't compare or take it to the next step, their actual breakdown of benefit and what's in the system. So making sure that we have accurate breakdowns to support the back end of collection, treatment coordination, and we're going to talk a little bit about why then AR and balance billing happens in a practice. Okay, so by discussing ways to improve and tighten up claim processing to eliminate the 60 days and beyond, we need to do what we kind of call some benchmarking. It's kind of a popular term used in businesses today to refer to establishing team-oriented performance objectives. Your team can't help you achieve goals if they don't know what the goals are. Some offices are afraid to share their numbers with their team members for fear that they're going to want to raise if they know how much money they think I have. That is a wrong way of thinking. Everybody has to have goals. If the practice has a goal that they have to meet to pay their teams, to pay their bills, to take some money home to their families, you have to share those goals with your team, and as a team, have a win when you make the goals happen. Okay. The second part of the accounts receivable that I refer to as balance billing. What I find doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me is when the front desk already has, like I said, multiple things going on, and to add to a pile of things that need to get done, once a month they send billing statements, once a month usually. If your practice is doing this, this is probably the most important takeaway you're gonna get from me today. Patient balance billing, reviewing financial protocols and collection over the counter, discussing patient options, and setting clear payment goals. You should make sure that on your accounts receivable, if you are having to balance bill, you need to know why. Again, is it that your practice management system is not spitting out a correct treatment plan for patient portions? Is it your team is not collecting over the counter? Is your financial options not clear to your patients? Or is your team weak and needs a little bit of training and scripting to be more confident in asking for patient portions? Whatever those things are, I really encourage you to try to find out where the lack of is to eliminate and cut half of what you need done. So an important detail in measuring your collection percentage is making any adjustments. Go ahead to the next slide. All right. So what does healthy look like? This is where I want you guys to really sit down and figure out what that looks like. What is healthy for your office? At what percentage should your P&L in your practice be? Where and what makes you feel good at the end of the day? All right, next one. All right. Establishing clear collection protocols. 98% over-the-counter patient portion should be collected. There are going to be some small percentages, which I'm going to get into next, about where you're having to kind of be a little bit more lenient with some patients when it comes to how they pay. Establishing, making sure that you're using outside financing companies like Care Credit to help patients make financial decisions. Every team member should go through that training with Care Credit. They have some great tools that they can offer to help your team members feel more confident when offering options to a patient. It's not just a treatment coordinator's responsibility to get a patient to say yes, it's the entire team's. Ensuring eligibility and benefit accuracy within your practice management system. We talked about that earlier. And then reviewing treatment plan protocols and the way we present. If we need to up our game a little bit, make sure everyone is in the same place when it comes to what your options of financing are in the practice for your patient, and how they pay is going to be not just as important to the front desk to know, but the back as well. Okay. All right. When you guys are balance billing, instead of doing once a month statements, you should go to a weekly protocol. Break up your current AR of patient balances and make sure that you are doing it in an alphabetical way. So week 1 of the month could be A through F. Week 2 could be, you know, a different section of the alphabet, and so on. This is going to ensure that it's going to ensure 2 things. It's going to create a better cash flow in your practice, and it's going to eliminate all of those pesky and terrible phone calls that everybody at the front desk hates after billing happens. You send out 100 billing statements in one day, and within 3 days, the phone's nonstop ringing, patients are upset, why do I bill? And you're not able to manage the other day-to-day things that are happening or be attentive to the patients that are there. So by breaking this up, you're going to increase your you're going to increase your cash flow and have a much happier staff. Okay, next. All right, so balanced billing, we just talked. Being aggressive, setting goals, cutting your monthly billing statements in half, making sure that on the front end things are in line so that the back end is less work. Okay. And we just talked about that one. Go ahead to the next. Thanks, Sylvia. All right, so what will patients need? So I'm going to wrap myself up here, but what will patients need when they come back into the office? It's going to be important now to really look again at being flexible when it comes to your financial options with patients. We need to establish what patients will need when coming back to the office after they have just experienced reduction of income or potential permanent job loss, which is where the financial flexibility comes in. Next slide. When reviewing your existing financial policy, you may need to revise it for leniency for those experiencing hardships if you're wanting to get your chairs filled. So, but even beyond that, what services are available to your business to help ease the financial burdens patients may experience? I'm a big advocate on 100% collection, offering different ways that patients can pay, but there are going to be some times when we have to be a little bit more lenient, especially opening our doors again. So flexible financing, talk about what that amongst yourselves looks like. The next thing that's going to be important is convenient hours. Do you currently offer convenient hours? What hours do you currently operate? 9 to 5? So with families losing jobs and returning after business closures, many have exhausted already their sick time and their PTO leave. In dentistry, we're pretty flexible usually with our staff if they want to take some time off and they don't have time or PTO. It's not like that in the CEO world. In that world, in large business and corporations, people could actually lose their job for excessive loss of hours or not going to work when they're scheduled. So they are going to need a little bit of flexibility, and you need to evaluate what your hours in your practice currently look like, and do we need to offer more early hours, a ratio mix of maybe a day that is a later hours. By no means am I saying open on the weekends, but that might be an option depending on what's going on in your area. The next thing is, if you click again, is going to be in-office membership plans. If you don't currently have an in-office membership plan in your office, you need to consider it. There is going to be patients that it's going to be vital for your existing who lose their jobs permanently and don't have any dental insurance. You don't want to lose those patients to an insurance company where they go to the market, they buy this plan that restricts them to $1,000, a year, with a year of major work that they can't have done because of the restrictive clause, waiting periods. Offer them something to keep them in your practice. There's no reason for a non-insured dental patient to go to the market to buy dental insurance. There's tons of different membership plans out there. The Madows have a great membership plan that we can definitely help with if you guys are interested, and we can talk about that a little bit later. But reviewing if you have that ability, and if not, start to get that in place. So and that's it. So the next one, Sylvia. So it's really time to evaluate the way your dental practice operates. Ensure it's in line with the needs of your existing patients, your office, and the new patients who are going to need a dental home. This is the time where writing down what your vision and your culture looks like currently, and what it's going to look like in 6 to 8 weeks. And that's it.
Thank you.
Fantastic, Kara. Thank you so much.
Sure.
You were incredibly well prepared, and as usual, your information is top notch.
Thanks.
I just want to answer one thing. I just realized this while reading the chats that many people viewing this webinar have been with me and Dave for a long time, or maybe even a short time. You've come to one of our seminars, or maybe you've been with us for many, many years. But some people, this is your first experience with the Madow Center. And if that's the case, and you want to know a little bit more about what we do, you can just go to madow.com. It's MADOW.com. I was going to say you can see our live appearance schedule, but that's kind of been put on hold for a while, unfortunately. So you can't see that right now, but you can certainly see some other things that we do. You can subscribe to our Dental Digest, which is an e-letter that comes out a few times a week. You can see what it's like to work with our fantastic coaches. You just met two. You're about to meet a third in a second. But if you just don't know a whole lot about us, go to madow.com, MADOW.com.
I'll say one thing, Rich, because although there's a lot of information on our website, something I want to say live here is that Rich and I, as you can see, Rich did get his doctor, by the way. I think we fixed
Thank
that.
you. Somebody confirmed my doctorate degree finally.
So, but all kidding aside with that, Rich and I are real dentists. Rich and I started practices from scratch many years ago. We don't practice anymore. This is what we do full time. We run the Madow Center for Dental Practice Success, but we are real guys who started practices. We had our fingers in people's mouths, and we've done it all. Not only have we worked on patients, we've been through insurance, we've been through all the front desk stuff. We've run practices, and the reason I'm saying that is because there are a lot of people out there, and I'm not trying to diss anybody at all, but there are a lot of people out there that are trying to give dental advice that have never really had anything to do with a real dental practice. And we are docs, we we are fortunate to be able to work with some of the best people, again, in dentistry. Our coaches here right now, you've met a couple of them, you're going to meet some more great people, but we just love helping dentists and team members. We've been doing it for almost 31 years now, and it's not even including the time that we had our dental practices. So we've been doing this a long time.
So a couple of people were asking about membership plans, and again, go to madow.com. You can check out our membership plan in a box if you want to go in that direction. If you want to go in another direction, there are some other great things out there too, but check that out on madow.com. Before we bring on Barb, I also want to say that some of you know, maybe some of you don't know, but this is a two-part webinar. And tomorrow, same time, 1 p.m. Eastern time, and you have the link already because it's the same link, I believe. Sylvia, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's the same link. Dr. Joanne Reif, who you can see is hanging with us today and has given some advice already, and she's been active on the chats. She is an incredible dentist, fantastic marketer. It's constantly learning ways to grow her own practice, and then loves to share them with other people. And she actually had a speaking engagement coming up at the Connecticut State Dental Association, which she was really excited about, but unfortunately, like all of us who have speaking engagements coming up, that had to be postponed or canceled. So we asked Joe to come on tomorrow and not give her whole 6-hour presentation, but give some of the things that she was going to talk about in Connecticut, and also some of the things that she's doing in her own practice that involve the COVID-19 crisis that she can share with everybody. So you don't want to miss that. 1 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. We'll be right back here. Okay, that said, I think we're ready for it. Do you want to say anything else before we bring on our next speaker?
No, I'm good. I'd say go ahead and bring on our next speaker, Rich.
Great. Barbara Thurs is our next speaker. She is one of our dental coaches as well. She's actually the newest member to our coaching team, but that doesn't mean that she's starting from scratch as a coach. She spent, I won't say how many years, Barbara, but I'll just say many, right? She spent many years working as a coach in one of the large national organizations that you've all heard of, and then decided she wanted to a little change and come work with us in more of a boutique coaching situation, one that's maybe not real cookie cutter with modules and continuums and plans, but one where we actually get to know each client individually and help them on that basis. So we are really glad that she's with our team. She's extremely knowledgeable. She's very kind. And I love the way when she speaks, she's just all calm and collected and soothing, which maybe the opposite of me and Dave. I don't know, but and one more thing too, real quickly. Oh, well, go ahead. I'll say that after Barb, between Barb and Whitney, because we don't want to have all our announcements at once. So then I'll say, with no further ado, we're going to bring on our newest member of our coaching team, Barbara Thurs. Take it away, Barb.
Oh, thank you so much, Rich. I really appreciate it. Now I have to sound really mellow throughout, right?
You can't help it. You always do.
Yeah, right. So today what we're going to do, we're going to go over highlights for case presentation just to get you back up and running. So it's some of the high points. This is not sales. Case presentation is about educating your patient. So this is a very good time to make phone calls to your patients, as you now have this captive audience. Start with full audit on all your unscheduled treatment plans. Start with the most recent patients first and work your way back. You may want to see who has a potential emergency. Maybe it was someone who was talking about pain before we had this big shutdown on our entire country. Or you can just call to make sure that people are reminded that they still have recommended treatment from the doctor, and are they ready to schedule, and you'll pick that date, as both Betty and Kara mentioned earlier, when you want to see if you can get back up and running. So when a staff member makes the call, they should tell the patient, the first thing they should say is, the doctor asked me to give you a call to find out how you're doing with X, Y, Z, whatever treatment has been recommended. First, that makes the patient realize that the doctor is concerned about them. That's your best customer service, making a patient feel important and special. It also helps to make them trust you, which is absolutely key. And given that we're now predicting a very slow return of our patients to the offices, make sure to take enough time to schedule so that each patient does not feel rushed, and also that you don't feel rushed either. You can take the time with that patient to really reestablish trust, because there are so many fears out there. Whether it's fear about getting the coronavirus, whether it's a fear about not having money or dental insurance, or a fear about catching the virus, which I'm sure is going to stay top of mind for many people for a long time. Now, they are not, or may not, prioritize dental work at the top of your list right now. So I want to say, for case presentation and to build trust, demonstrating greater concern for others more than yourself engenders trust, loyalty, and commitment. Listen more than you talk, so they can you can understand their needs. And when presenting treatment, there are a few things I want to suggest that you focus on: consistency, predictability, and integrity. So what does that look like? Well, first, consistency. You and your team need to be able to understand your treatment philosophy using the same value-building words and benefit statements in order to validate your recommendations. Now is a good time to reach out to your team to connect with them. They probably are very uncomfortable with the situation, not knowing when they're going to go back to work. And now you can reach out to everyone and make them feel a part of reopening the office and the success that will come with that. Everyone can make a contribution, which is absolutely key to motivating your team and ultimately motivating your patients. So you want the patient to hear the same language coming from everyone. And this creates clarity and gets the patient to yes much faster. With your team, create an exercise. It should be talking about your treatment philosophy, so everybody is very clear about what is important to you. And then work together as a team to find the right value-building benefit statements. Here are some examples. The benefits of an implant might be so that it looks just like a natural tooth. Mrs. Jones, in order to eat whatever you want, you will find the implant to be the best option. And Mrs. Jones, if you amortize the cost of an implant over your lifetime, it's a whole lot less expensive than a bridge, which is going to have to be replaced every 10 to 12 years anyway. Finally, Mrs. Jones, so that we can maintain your beautiful smile, an implant is the way to go. Now, it may be difficult to find ways to spin the benefit statements into your conversations. So a quick and easy way to remember that is 2 phrases: so that you can, and in order to. So that you can achieve a beautiful smile, or in order to save the tooth, we're going to need to restore it with a crown. And for your hygiene team, Mrs. Jones, you have periodontal disease. Your gums are infected. I'm recommending we do a deep cleaning or scaling and root planing so that we can remove the bacteria which can travel to various places in your body, like your heart. Now, these benefit statements should be written down so that everyone can familiarize themselves with the language to be used, and that creates consistency in your message. So again, going back to building trust, it's consistency, predictability, and integrity. What does predictability look like? It gets the patient to say yes when they can confidently rely on you. So when a patient can predict that they'll be seen on time, that they'll be treated well with every visit, that they can count on a friendly hello, and also to know that they'll be able to leave on time. Otherwise, it causes a lot of stress, and it makes it very hard to get to yes when people are stressed out. And finally, your integrity. Your word is everything, especially around your fees. Now, I don't normally recommend discounting your fee to anyone because your fee is your fee. And once you start reducing your fee, it's expected all of the time. But in these extraordinary times, it may be necessary. So one of the things that you can do is determine a discount for this period of time so that your treatment coordinator knows the ceiling for what they can offer the patient. Let the patient know that the discount was given because you're concerned about the patient getting the right treatment that's needed at this time. This works so much better for the TC rather than getting up and asking you questions every time they're talking to a patient. They know their ceiling or their boundary. And this is also important because the doctor should not appear to be involved with finances in any way. You know, there's an old story, and it sounds like this from every patient when a doctor talks about fees. Oh, I guess I paid for that beautiful office of yours, or I helped pay for your vacation. I know I didn't go on vacation this year. So we got to know that there's just not a lot of trust around dentistry and money. So just to go over a few points, consistency, predictability, and integrity are key builders of trust. Build statements so that your team are going to use the same language and can validate your recommendations. Schedule enough time right now, particularly, so that you don't appear rushed. You're there solely for that patient. Determine your discounts in advance so that your TC can make the decisions with a realistic ceiling and without having to come and ask you every time. Always, always be building value by educating the patient. Understand what is important to your patient, whether it's money, appearance, ability to eat what they like, and use the name of the patient at least 2 or 3 times in every conversation. It keeps them listening rather than thinking about cost or pain. Use active listening. Listen twice as much as you speak. Remember, the patient is only thinking about what's in it for me with them. Talk with them about what they need or want, not what you want to do for them. Also really important, use layman's terms. Clinical jargon just throws them off. Using the word osseointegration is very impressive, but your patient is not going to know what that means. And doctor power. When staff members make calls, it's the doctor who asks them to do so. When it comes to financials now, the doctor should defer to their treatment coordinator or their financial coordinator each and every time. Remember, questions help the patient get to a close. It isn't necessarily resistance. And I want to repeat that. Questions help patients get to the close. It is not necessarily resistance. And finally, to close the case, just ask them, are you ready to schedule? So wishing you all the very best of luck and good health and happy closing. Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara.
I think she needs a big round of applause. That was fantastic.
Way to go, Barb. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Hey, I just want to, just real quickly, we know some of you are kind of looking for things to do and you're a little bit bored all day, or at least you're bored some of the day. Docs and team members, check out our podcast, The Dental Practice Fixers. One of the things that we do on the podcast, or actually the main thing we do, is secret shopper calls to dental practices. Now, we kind of put it on pause for now because obviously, for many reasons, the time's not right to do secret shopper calls. But we've got a whole backlog of episodes. If you're not familiar with it, go on, listen to our calls. You'll be entertained, that's for sure, but you'll also learn a lot, docs and team members, about how to properly get a potential new patient off the phone and into the appointment book. So it's called the Dental Practice Fixers. It's on iTunes, it's on Spotify, Stitcher, all the podcast sites, or you can go to madow.com, madow.com, and there's a little link to it there as well.
Good stuff. Rich, is that the thing you wanted to say in between?
That's it.
That was good. There's something that has not been mentioned, Rich, by the way, before I'll introduce our next speaker, but something has to be noted right now. And
right now?
Right now, right this second. Get a little closer to the case. You've got I haven't seen you for like a long time because of this social distancing, but you have grown like a beard or something here? What's going on?
Well, it's a little scuzz beard, I guess you could call it.
Look at this.
I know. I haven't had a beard for maybe 30 years. I used to have
I think since like college. You had one in college, I think.
I had one early on in my dental practice. So I guess
what it was?
1988 or 1980, maybe 1986. I don't know. That was my last real beard, I guess. So yeah, it's kind of my social distancing, isolation beard. Nobody wants to be near me anyway. So, but you know, I'm a little disappointed that it's all coming in gray these days. I feel like Jackson Brown.
I know.
I'm the Conqueror.
Exactly right. You're trying to be Jackson Brown. I know it. I know.
Always either Jackson or Paul McCartney. Right?
Or Paul McCartney. Right. Well, good stuff, Barb. Thank you so much for that. Greatly appreciated. Our next speaker. I'll just give a really brief introduction. Many of you have spoken to her on the phone. She works really closely with a lot of our dentists that do marketing with us. She's spoken at every one of our master classes. She's very passionate about helping docs all over the country become better in their practices through marketing, through coaching, whatever it might be. She listens and she figures out a game plan. Again, there's nothing we do here that's cookie cutter because it's very easy to say, well, anybody that calls, just give them this. But we don't do that. Some people might not need anything at all, and other people might need certain things. This young woman is really great at speaking to docs and helping them. And so without further ado, her name is Whitney Beauregard. She is the Practice Development Manager at the Madow Center. However, Whitney, I think practice development specialist might sound better than manager. You're definitely a manager, but like you're a specialist. You're like the best in the world at this. I think we should call you the specialist.
Whatever. I'll still do the same job no matter what.
I know you will, but let's everybody. We've got 550 people here on Zoom, and we got many people on Facebook. Everybody, just give it up for Whitney Beauregard. She's rocking the baby. Let's do it.
I'll be brief, but this stuff really is important. Like Dave said, I handle a lot of the marketing for dentists. in a very hands-on way. So, but I did tune in a little bit late, technical difficulties, forgive me. So there might be a little overlap, but all of it's important, I promise you, and I'll be quick. So like we've been talking about, it's a crazy time, and the conditions we're dealing with are unprecedented. So from a marketing standpoint, we know there's no established pre-existing formulas that are going to dictate exactly what we do. Unfortunately, because it is such a scary time and decreased revenue is an issue, what I've observed since the crisis started affecting dental offices is what I call fear-based decision making. And I get it, I really do, but that's often when we make the worst decisions. But please, 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 and I think this was probably echoed through the entire webinar, please take these words seriously. Do not stop marketing your practice. Just instead, change how you're marketing your practice. And I'm going to give you some ideas on how to do that specifically. But as I've heard a lot in the past few weeks, the common misconception is that, quote unquote, there's no point in marketing because I'm not seeing patients. This is true to an extent. There are going to be a lot of tweaks we make here. However, that doesn't mean your patients or potential patients aren't seeing you. In fact, currently, and I heard Barb say this phrase, you have the most captive audience of all time if we're talking about social media exposure. Like I said, there is no marketing dental practices during a pandemic playbook. And like I also said previously, your marketing strategies and content have to change drastically. Now more than ever, I really hope your marketing go-to person or company, Betty said, or Kara said, maybe you're working with family members, whoever that person is. I hope they're really, truly good at what they do right now and are actively working with you right now. So they may customize content, modify websites and landing pages, and to really call upon the right brain faculties of a quote unquote creative. Right now, marketing is all about creatively cultivating new approaches to reaching and connecting. That's a big word, connecting to your patients, current patients. And if you really connect into the current social psychology, I truly, truly believe you can recruit new patients who will remember you and come to you when things return to normalcy. Okay, first off, we need to talk about big picture marketing. This is where your mind and money should be right now, because if we are short-sighted and just looking at the current state of things, the natural reaction is to shut it all down and eliminate any and all expenditures possible. One thing that's very worthwhile to everyone right now is to focus on branding. This is where social media posts, I know Betty talked about it some, are so important because like it was said earlier, everyone is looking at their cell phones and computers like never before. Branding as a concept in advertising focuses more on current patient loyalty and building a community reputation. As for content, say of your current Facebook posts, we want to convey that you are on top of things. If you can be the post that pops up on someone's feed that provides them with up-to-date information and new developments, which everyone is thirsty for, you're staying relevant and are creating an image of reliability. If you're providing dental specific information about the virus, which a lot of people don't have, and its impact, this might very well be the first time this new information has been passed along to readers, and this conveys expertise, professionalism, care, and concern. And this is where you can really connect emotionally with your patients. Remember, as I always say, this is marketing 101. People make important decisions having to do with their healthcare, based way less in logic than one might think. And this is where it's a highly emotional decision. So this is where you can go there right now. Get more personable than you ever have before with your patients, in your emails, on Facebook posts, in any patient outreach or advertising that you're doing right now. So why is big picture marketing so important? There are many more reasons. If you're doing this consistently and have essentially helped your patients be guided through this process, you've created trust and loyalty, because quite simply, you've made yourself important to your people. You've created an amazing opportunity. Surely we will know when things are looking up, and we'll be able to approximate the time when your doors are going to reopen. So prior to that, this is when we shift our content slightly. We have reached our audience, and now it is time to do the real connecting. Quelling potential fears that might inhibit a patient from making an appointment so soon after the doors open. And this, again, is seeing the big picture, foreseeing future roadblocks, and using social media to intercept and redirect. Start driving home the fact that you follow the most stringent hygienic protocols, follow all ADA guidelines, and any measures you might be putting in place. As you can tell, this type of content is very different than pre-corona dental marketing. It's not sexy at all, not that dental marketing was ever sexy, so to speak, but it's really, really, it's gonna be clinical as well as emotionally connecting with the patients, kind of two extremes. So this is first and foremost what people are gonna be concerned about, and it's gonna keep your patients engaged. You've created a greater sense of loyalty, reliability, and safety. Also, at a time when health and wellness is going to be at the forefront of everyone's mind, this is prime time to remind people that, in fact, dentistry is healthcare. As we know, many people treat going to the dentist as optional. They just visit in case of emergency or focus on the cosmetic aspect of dentistry. Believe me, when things return to normal, I predict that we're going to see a huge wave of people suddenly taking their healthcare more seriously than ever. Remind your patients or potential patients that dental health is essential to personal wellness. Encourage making a return to normalcy set of health resolutions. You know, it could be packaged any sort of way. And emphasize that a visit to your office is essential to getting and staying healthy. Now I'm going to move on a bit, but it's a matter that does overlap. I'll tell you, I mentioned that time period of what I'd guesstimate to be about 3-4 weeks prior to dental offices reopening, and it will be a precious time. I'll go as far as saying, if you need to make up for lost time and revenue and are afraid of how your schedule is going to look upon reopening, which I think is probably everybody, it would be foolish not to act aggressively marketing-wise during this little pocket of time. This is when I believe paid advertising should become your focus or your refocus on your corona crisis marketing or whatever you want to call it. You have to convey that you are the most post-corona crisis go-to practice in your community. Again, emphasizing hygienic standards, dentistry as a key to overall health, but also this is where your marketing person, maybe it's you, but must get very clever. And believe it or not, I think that you can even recruit new patients. For instance, here's an idea I came up with for my clients, which actually can be used in a multitude of ways sooner than that 3-week mark, but it's a real gem in the context of paid advertising. You create a Google or a Facebook ad that explains a post-corona reopening percentage discount. Like Barb mentioned, I wouldn't necessarily, recommend it across the board all the time, but this is a different time. And that is something that is going to be better than nothing initially, right? Getting butts in the seats. I'd recommend offering as large a discount as you can, feasibly. And if at all possible, just do it across the board for all services. The less caveats and exclusions, the better. It looks better. New and established patients alike. Anyhow, clicking on this ad would lead to a very simple landing page that would offer the coupon, which could be printed, screenshot, or redeemed for future use by entering their information, much like a appointment setting application, but instead it would be data collection to ensure a team member's call upon reopening or just before reopening for the purpose of making an appointment. This is a really like a getting ahead of the game, especially depending on the size of the discount and services included, and it could really generate traffic. Important to mention, this would be imperative to also include a sense of urgency, a call to action, wherein to honor the special, they must call and reserve or schedule the appointment within a given time frame. Suggest no longer than a month after reopening, let's say. And then, as I said, promotions like this, it's going to be essential in that initial reopening period. You could even do this now or through direct mail. And I'm going to start beta testing this with a few of my practices very soon. So I wanted to just also say, realistically, it is a good time to do some housekeeping and some strategizing. Make sure all of your info is correct across the board wherever your listings on the internet are. You could work with your marketing person to come up with a rock solid strategy, not just some kind of sense that they've got it, you know, squared away once things get back to normal. A rock solid strategy, customized to your practice as to what to do now and upon reopening. This is also a good time to make the improvements to your website you've been meaning to get to. And again, use this time so you're ready for takeoff upon reopening, locked and loaded, so to speak. Now, I just want you to know, okay, so I have a little bit more time on my hands as well. If you have any questions, any advice, I am happy to help right now. My email is whitney@madow.com, very simple. And I would love to talk to any of you guys out there just wanting to do the best job possible for this really unfortunate time. So thank you so much for listening.
Hey, Whitney, I've got one quick question for you. I think it'll take you 30 seconds to answer, but I think it's a really good project for people that, again, they have a little more downtime and they just want to check on things. And I don't think you mentioned it, but if you did, my apologies. But I know one of the things that you deal with are practices that have two different names, like they're called the Smile Center of Orlando, and they're also called Dr. Jose Jimenez's office. Can you just give your really good quick tip about that? So it might be a great time for people to look into that.
Some dentists do not even realize that they have 2 Google listings or 3 or 4. I mean, it can be crazy. So they're getting, you know, Joe Schmo DDS and the business name are getting, they're both getting reviews. The reviews are getting divided. And it just causes a lot of confusion. And it's kind of a complicated process, but somebody that knows what they're doing can consolidate those listings. And that's kind of what I was mentioning. Make sure everything is congruent and consolidated and in its right place right now. And if you don't know how to do that, you can always reach out to somebody who does. It's a good time to do that kind of stuff.
Right. I like the way you put it, where if you're under the name of a practice, like as I said, Orlando Smile Center, and then also Dr. Jimenez, you're kind of competing with yourself.
You are,
and it's
right.
very confusing to the consumer and to Yelp and to Google and to everyone. So I'm glad we had time to talk about that.
Whitney, when Rich and I spoke about this, we kind of took your little topic there and spoke about this one of the last times we spoke. A lot of people actually had questions, and they said they really don't know how to do this themselves. So we refer them to call you or to email you. Are you willing to help anybody that just that knows maybe they do have duplicate listings, they're not really sure if they do, or they don't know how to look for it? And not only that, but if they do, you can guide them like how to consolidate. What's the best way for them to get in touch with you? You want to give email and phone number? Because some people just like phone people, they like just to call too.
Whitney@madow.com, and then my personal cell phone, and I always say I take calls.
Hold on, let me write this down.
Before 12 midnight and before. It's 561-779-3076.
Now, single doctors out there, don't think you're going to call Whitney and try to get a date. Don't just call her only if you want to talk about the Google stuff and marketing and stuff like that. She just gave out her personal cell phone number.
Yeah, it looks like on the chat, people are asking for everybody's email. So maybe you have a question for one person or the other. So maybe if everybody can put your own emails and make sure it's going to all panelists and attendees, that would be great. For me or Dave, it's just info@madow.com. That kind of goes to our mailbox, and we get to see all of those. So if you want to reach me or Dave, info@madow.com. And then, of course, Barb, Whitney, Kara, Betty. Joanne, you can put yours in too, but I have a feeling after tomorrow, more people will want yours. So what the heck. And remember, again, tomorrow at 1 p.m., Dr. Joanne Reeves got some incredible things to do. She's an outside-the-box marketer, as she says, and has great insight, not in just growing practices, but also some things you should be doing during this crazy time of the corona. Time of the corona.
We had a doc a little while ago. I just saw one of the questions that came by. She said she wants to attend tomorrow, but she also needs to schedule some emergency patients as well. She asked how long it's going to go. I'd say is it fair to say it's going to go about 2 hours, about the same as today, about 2 hours roughly, give or take. But doctor, if you allow at least 2 hours for the webinar tomorrow, schedule some emergencies well after that, you should be fine. I think you should be all right.
Oh, I didn't know it was that long. How long did we tell you, Joanne?
I was given 50 minutes, but considering today we're going on 1 hour and 45, so.
And I think
many
we're
speakers today.
Do a little bit of Q&A as well. Oh, so yeah, tomorrow might not be nearly as long then. I thought you were going to be given a little bit of your 6-hour course maybe, but
I'll take
at least an hour. She said 50,
okay.
50, not 15, 50. So we'll say at least an hour, then Q&A, and who knows. But also, again, as we said at the beginning, maybe some people didn't hear that, a lot of questions about the financial things, about government grants, loans, the PPP, the CARES, the BMFs, all that stuff. And hold on to your hats, because it's very possible, we're not promising, but very possible that within the next week or so, we can have a webinar dedicated to that topic.
So do we have time for some questions today? How are we going to work that?
There's so many in the chat box.
I know there are a lot that came in ahead of time also, and then a tremendous number on the chat box. Do you want Rich, do you want to find a really good one to start with, and one of our experts will take it away if we read the question?
Wow, now you're really putting the pressure.
Well, but I know also we have a spreadsheet of a whole bunch that I think Sylvia had compiled earlier as well. So we thank you, by the way, we thank you so much for your questions. We do have a record of all of them. We're going to try our best to answer as many as we can. If not on today's show, tomorrow, and then as Rich said, we're going to do another one. We're going to try our best to do it next week that will be dedicated only to answering all these fantastic questions that came in.
Well, I know a bunch of questions we had were about sending out statements. Some people were asking, should we continue to send out statements as normal during this time when our practices are closed, and we know some people are having financial hardships. Somebody said, this is Luz Elena Valencia, when sending statements to patients, would you recommend to state anything in regard to the fact that we know some people are going through hardships and offering different financial options? So I guess in general, what's the strategy? Are we sending statements like normal? Or are we addressing this in any way when we do it? Are we calling patients about financial matters or money that's owed? Anybody? Betty's raising her hand so politely.
So many of my clients are still sending out statements. Some have chosen to just pause it for a little bit. But what I was trying to say earlier to respond to one of the comments, but I can't type while I'm doing this, is if you have, sometimes our statements have automatic aging messages, like if this isn't paid, you're going to be sent to collection or whatever it is. I would try to take note if you have any messages like that going out on your statements and maybe take those off for now. It's appropriate, sure, to acknowledge that we understand people are having a difficult time, but this is a great time to be able to make arrangements with them. So maybe they can't make the $300 a month that they have been making, but maybe they can make $50 for right now. And that's okay, we understand, but we got to remember that not everyone is having a financial hardship right now. There are many people that are still working. My husband is laid off right now. I'm still getting utility bills and, statements coming in, but we have to just be very understanding. If it's a true hardship for some people right now, maybe they need to hold off on paying, or even if they just make a small amount just to keep their account current. I think that would be totally fine because it shows that they are concerned. It's going to keep their account current. And then once the dust settles, so to speak, and they feel a little bit more comfortable, then they can make more of a payment. So for sure, keep sending them out.
And then some of my offices have also, you know, they have been able to receive themselves some, you know, help. So they wanted to offer that. So some offices have decided to send out the statements and then offer 10% off if they're able to take care of their balance due as a one-time option during this hardship for everybody. So that's an option as well, which can help your practice to get some of that residual income in and help them on the flip. So, you know, maybe if they call and they can't make the payment, maybe offer, you know, what can you pay? If I were able to give you 20% off or 10% off, can you take care of that balance today? It's going to go a long way, especially once we get through this, to how your patients are going to feel about you in the end. So still, in my advice that I used to is you should still send out your statements, still let them know that, yes, they still owe you money, but be a little bit financially forgiving when needed.
We don't want to put past due stamps on the envelope.
No.
Threatening them right now.
No, don't do that. No red anything.
No statement of delinquency? Oh, no.
No.
Okay, one just came in from Dr. Showman. It says, when doing treatment plan presentations, I don't like focusing in on letting the insurance dictate the treatment, but rather the care that the patient needs and wants. How would you recommend presenting without making, and again, we could be hours on treatment plan presentations, so we have to make our answers brief just due to time. How would you recommend presenting without making the insurance the dictator in what they need?
I could take that one. So, you know, at the end of the day, when you're presenting treatment, you don't have to bring up insurance at all. Just prioritize what's the best treatment, maybe give them 3 options, and then let the financial coordinator or treatment coordinator discuss insurance with them. And based on that, then they will they'll understand first what's the best way to go. And then they can just either work with a patient to make up the difference from what the insurance won't cover and so on and so forth. But I wouldn't even bring up anything about insurance or financials, just straight presentation of the case that you're recommending, end of story.
I've got a good one here. This came in actually ahead of time because we asked people to email us questions if they could. And so this question, and this is a good one because, you know, as Rich said, we do a podcast on telephone answering. What's the best way to answer the phone and convert callers into, you know, get them into the appointment book? It's the telephone, and the way you handle this is one of the most important things you could possibly do in the dental practice. But now most dental practices are closed. There's nobody in the physical building. So the question is, what is a step-by-step guidance to answering calls if your office is closed completely? Like, what do you do? And I'll throw it out to one of our team members, but one of our coaches, but Rich and I would absolutely both agree. You can't, having a recording or having it ring, ring, ring is not an option. You still have to have the phone answered. So guys, whoever wants to take that question, I think it's a really good one. I'd love to hear your answer.
I'm going to be answering some of that tomorrow, but I can do it again.
Yeah.
You want to give like a little preview right now, Joanne?
Sure. So what I'm doing in my practice, and I believe it or not, I do this all the time, pre-corona. I have my phone at the end of the day, the office phone number transferred to my cell phone. So usually if it's a friend of mine, their name's going to pop up. But you can have a separate cell phone. But if it's a phone number that doesn't, you know, recognize, then that's usually a patient. I'll just answer Dr. Reeves' office. How may I help you? So even if you don't do this all the time, that's fine, but do it now. Just have it transferred to your cell. And when you go to sleep at night, or if you're busy watching this webinar, you put it on vibrate. And even if the patient or potential patient doesn't leave a message, you have their number stored in your phone. So after this, I have 6 people call me during this.
Wow.
None of the I don't recognize any of the numbers. The people I called this morning to reschedule. So I've got a job ahead of me to call these 6 people back. You cannot miss a single call. You just can't. That's all there is to it. You've got to respond and be available for every single call, because you don't want these people calling Dr. Jones down the street. So was that the whole question about answering the phones?
Yeah, but I'm gonna add something to that, Joanne, if it's okay if I say this. A lot of docs feel that maybe they're too almighty or they're too proud to actually, I'm not going to answer the phone, I'm the doctor. But I'll tell you something. Rich and I have known Dr. Joanne Reif for many, many years. When I was in Maryland, I was a patient of your practice. I'm one of those guys that called the office sometimes and got you to answer the phone. You have got one of the most successful practices I've ever seen in dentistry. And it's because you're not afraid to be on the front lines and doing a lot of the things that really, really help your practice. So yeah, by you answering the phone off hours, and it goes directly to you, and you know these patients, you can help them out personally. It has been a tremendous thing for your practice. So I'm going to say, docs, again, listen to Dr. Reif. Don't be so proud that you can't answer your own phone. It really does work. And
I mean, if you want to delegate it, that's fine. But someone needs to have these calls transferred. It have to be transferred to somebody. I always tell the story that one weekend a couple of years ago, I had 6 new patients call in one weekend. 5 came from Google reviews. So I got to make appointments and speak to 6 new patients in one weekend. I mean, that's unbelievable. So it's possible, it happens, and I highly recommend answering the phone.
I just wonder how many of those 6 calls were people that were attending this webinar. They saw your name and they thought, I'm going to go to her website and call her office to see how they're answering. And then they called you just to see.
It's going to happen now. Now they're all going to start calling.
And they're going to get a call back. That's the thing, no matter where they are.
Yes.
It's great leadership.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Well, again, thanks so much, everybody, for being here with us today. We're going to be doing more of these webinars, starting with tomorrow, 1 p.m. You can use the same link. You definitely don't want to miss Dr. Joanne Reif, and the gang will be here for questions and chat and camaraderie. And I mean, we really appreciate you taking the time to be on here. We love being a part of the dental community and chatting with so many great people, getting to know them, hopefully helping them, and we feel the help coming right back to us. So thanks so much, everyone. What do you say? I'm gonna toss it over to my co-host, Dr. Dave.
So yeah, again, thanks. It's an honor to have so many people join us today. Many of you were on. You might have gotten on late. You might have had to jump. You know, this thing went for close to 2 hours now. You might have had to jump out of the room for a little while. So I want to make sure you know that this whole thing is being recorded, and it's going to be available as a replay on our YouTube channel, which is the Dental Practice Fixers. Normally we reserve that only for our podcast. We don't put other things on there, but this is so important and such great information. We're also going to put that on our Dental Practice Fixers YouTube channel. So if you don't know how to get there, you simply go to YouTube, do a search for the Dental Practice Fixers. It will come up because I believe we are the only dental practice fixers out there. I really
was willing to stake that claim.
But by the way, we are in the process, as Rich said, we're taking a little bit of a pause on our podcast right now. And when we come back, we're going to have a brand new name, and it's going to be cooler than ever. So stick with us. We're really excited to do some really cool stuff for you guys. That's all I have. Go ahead, Rich.
Well, I was going to say thanks for being with us. Thanks to our incredible team, Barb, Whitney, Kara, Betty, Dr. Joanne. We will see you tomorrow. And Sylvia working behind the scenes to make sure that everything works smoothly. She puts so much work and time and knowledge and love into these presentations. So Sylvia, we appreciate you so much. We'll see you tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.